Recording in three, two, one.
So cool. Well, I'm so grateful to have this time to sit down and reflect. So for those of you who are tuning in to this recording, we recently got nominated by an amazing friend of ours, Esmeralda, to be featured in a local Arizona magazine, which we're super excited and grateful.
The
And
second one, we won
yes.
the second one.
That's right. That's right. I forgot we had been featured a few months ago, and that was really amazing too. So,
Yeah.
really grateful for these opportunities that give us the space to reflect and to, let me just put
Be
that.
on the spotlight. It's not always that we take on the spotlight because we love putting others on the spotlight and guiding them towards seeing their gifts. And so when it's our turn, we get all nervous, but then it is our time to shine and let people know what we're all about and what we do both on the work side and on the personal side.
Amazing. Yes. So they gave us, a few questions for us to kind of reflect on and to think about. So I would love to just pull up one of these questions and to get us going with answering, from the bottom of our hearts, how our journey has been, what we've learned along the way, and yeah, anything else that comes through as we're taking this time to reflect on our journey. So I'll start us off with one of the questions that the interviewer has asked us is, you know, if we had to attribute one factor to or behind our success, what would that be? And what would we say is what makes our brand so successful? So if you want to start us off, and then I'll just jump on to whatever you.
Yeah, there's so many different little factors that add to this formula of success. But I would say for both of us, even starting this brand, I think that the little factor of success was one, doing what we say we're going to do. I think there's a lot of dreamers out there, and what I love and brings so much confidence both individually and for the brand is doing what we say we're going to do and then acting on it, sometimes without planning it, sometimes just taking the leap of faith. It has a lot of faith behind everything that we do, believing in ourselves and just go doing it. And I think a lot of the time we don't really believe in what we can do and what we're capable, but we're more than qualified, 100 times, a million times more qualified and capable of doing that. So I think what we attribute to our success is taking the leap of faith, doing it, adding that extra confidence, and yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I would
Yeah.
say.
100%. Totally. Like when I think back of when we thought of the initial idea of the feminine ethos, within like we were so passionate and excited about it. I think within like a week we had already created the domain and the Google page and everything, right? So yeah, that just speaks on when something is really for us and excites us, right? And we go forward, like, yeah, there's nothing that can go wrong because at the end of the day, you're proving to yourself that you are capable of taking your idea and bringing it to light. And then I would also follow to that by saying that we also bring a refreshing breath of fresh air, as they say, meaning we are taking a different stance on things and speaking from our hearts and putting a different light to the topic of what it looks like to be a woman, right? And how we embrace that in our own journeys and in every woman's journey, right? Every woman's journey has its own path and its own road, and I think we're doing a really good job at sharing and demonstrating what that path can look like for every single woman, right? That we're not all cookie cutters and supposed to follow, a certain path line. So I think that also attributes to our success is our ability to be very honest about what the journey can look like and honoring what it looks like for
Yeah,
for each of us. So
authentically.
that's right. Amazing. Great. So if you want to look through and ask another one of the questions, and we can just ping pong.
Oh, yes. I really like this one because it reminds me of what you were talking about, how we started the brand, is on risk taking. How do
Mhm.
how do you think about risk? What role has taking a risk played in our life or our career.
Oh my gosh. Uh, we have learned to befriend risk, you know? I know that for both of us, there were portions of our lives when we did not take much risk, right? We were risk averse and we actually feared the unknown so much because we were so used to following like a very specific path line, right? And so when it came for us to jump into the unknown, right, to leave our comfort zone, which really started on our adventure to Europe, right? But even prior to that, when we moved in together up north, like we really went all in and we were like, all right, I don't know how it's going to work out, but it is. And so that was a really powerful and pivotal moment for my self-esteem and my confidence, and I feel like for years as well, was to really have faith in the unknown and to know that no matter what happens, right? What was the worst case scenario? Like when we talked ourselves out of the worst case or into the worst case scenario, we were like, it's not really that bad, you know? And I think just coming to terms with that and being like, okay, if it all fails, I can move in with my mom, you know? Like we had so many like moments of like, yeah, just bringing down that fear of that risk to be more digestible. And in doing so, I mean, look at our journey over the past 5 years, you know, it's taken us in
Yeah.
so many different paths, but I'm
Yeah,
really glad
we're
for it.
able to look at it and say, wow, if I didn't take on that risk, I wouldn't have that story or the experience. And it has always turned out to be better than we ever expected. So, like you said, we have befriended risk, and any risk that comes our way is like, all right, let's do it. It's actually more as an adventure, and we love a little plot twist too.
That's right. And have we not had a few?
And starting over is just like flipping a page on a book is not scary anymore. And even though, yes, we have little butterflies in our stomach and there's fear and uncertainty, I think we've gotten to a point, especially doing it together, I think that helped our confidence that now individually we can take on risks, but together taking on that risk beforehand has been so much easier.
Yeah, that's a good point too. If you can do it with someone and have that like adventure buddy, accountability buddy, you know, like it changes it all because while sometimes we were delusional in our visualization, right? It really helped. It helped to have someone else who was like, you know what? Yeah, like of course we can and it's gonna work out, you know? So yeah, I think risk is something that will either keep us in a chokehold, right? And it does for most people, but I am so grateful that we said yes to getting out of our comfort zone so that we could truly befriend it and not feel like, okay, you know, now it's like, all right, what's the next one? You know, I'm ready. I'm ready for the next
It's
risky
almost
adventure.
like it's almost like this illusion, right? That we're all behind this imaginary sideline of what could happen, and fear and assumptions keeps us behind that. But when we jump into it, it's not that bad, and it's what keeps the fear or the risk averse with the risk takers. And yeah, it's definitely an illusion now.
Yeah. So I'll proceed with the next quote from just it came to mind as we were talking about this, but it was like, do you have a favorite quote or affirmation? And I feel like with everything we've just talked about, I truly feel so strongly about the phrase that says, jump and the net will appear.
Oh,
Right? It's true. It's like we can spend years of our life like wanting and you know wishing that we did something about whatever it is that we want to change, you know, but it really doesn't, you don't start to believe in yourself until you jump and you realize, all right, the universe, life, creation will support me and even if I fall, you know, I'll land somewhere comfortably or somewhere that, you know.
yeah.
So yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah, I love that, which is true. And we, to our credit, we did spend a lot of time visualization, manifestation, and working on the mind as the first layer, as the surface level of really thinking, okay, we have to be somewhat delusional and somewhat faithful to a
Mhm.
blind eye to take those risks and chances for us to allow the universe to work with us. And I think that was very helpful to work with our minds on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if there was another quote around like what it takes or what it's taken for us to get here or to pursue this, but it was a lot of the mindset work, right? Because I remember like we had a phase of reading through so many books about limiting beliefs, right? And how we were creating these stories, these narratives that were just perpetuating the same patterns, the same cycles, right? And so when we started to notice, oh, everything that I'm thinking about, right? My fears, my insecurities, they're just being replayed in my real life, whether that's through this relationship, that work dynamic, right? And
Yeah.
so it was really powerful when we both started to see our patterns, and then when we got to see that they were actually very much in the same domain of like self-worth, and all of
It's
that.
the
So
same thing, right? It's like how we were wired and programmed to see this fear-based um,
Mhm.
to be able to we were attracting that because that's what we believed in and that's what we bathe ourselves in and that's in the programming we're in. But when we did the opposite and worked with our mindset, we how many synchronicities did we
Oh
not
my gosh,
experience?
yeah.
All these coincidences and how we started to realize that, oh, it's a game now and let's play with it and whatever I think. And now we became more aware of like, oh, it's coming from my thoughts or it starts with my thoughts. And then I'm able to see it in real life.
Yeah, that was a huge like awareness growth expansion because prior to that we were just kind of yeah, we were unconsciously recreating all of the same stuff, the baggage that we have been carrying around from childhood and even pat before that, right? So yeah, and I'm not gonna say that we're done in that realm, right?
Yeah.
We're not.
They're just
but
layers and levels.
but we're more aware, and it's really beautiful to now get to speak on these topics from a place of, yeah, I walk that path, or yeah, my friend and I, we both have seen it for ourselves and we know like, yeah, we weren't crazy, we weren't crazy. We were just unconsciously acting out of our wounds, out of our triggers, and through that realization, everything about our reality changed, right? Not only did like the quality of our lives improve, but the relationships with our friends, our families, right? The people that were closest to us, like it's we got to see a shift in how we related to them and how they related to us, and all because we were actually aware of the dynamic and how we were, feeling and all of that. So it was
Yeah,
really powerful.
it works.
It worked. Um, all right, let's see. So maybe we do one more. Okay, so work-life balance. So let's talk about that topic. So
Work-life balance.
yeah, what does that look like to you? I know.
Well,
uh,
for me, I feel like we're on the other side of the scale, a little too heavy on the other side of the scale where it takes boundaries, it takes awareness and accountability to say, okay, what is my current life situation at? And I believe we all have choices. Some choices are harder where there's more factors like kids and a whole household to maintain. But for me and for us, it started when we were living together, where we decided life by design. What does that look like? What do I want my body to feel? What do I want my situation, my routine to look like? And I think we have a pretty strong hold on what that looks like, which is beyond peaceful, beyond relaxing, beyond resting, because we understand the work that had to be done to regulate our nervous system, and it's all connected.
Yeah, and we also have to give ourselves credit because prior to being like so strong in our boundaries and firm, right? We were on the opposite side, meaning we were overworking, right? We were, successful in the world of like working and in the world of like identity being attached to, accomplishments and accolades and all of that, but disconnected from ourselves, right? And constantly just focused on how much can I produce, and am I being valued or am I being recognized, right, for how much I work and all of this stuff. Everything revolved around that persona, right, of being like a grinder, a top performer, high achiever. And we
Mhm.
didn't really know that there was a whole other world of like, oh, let me just see what it's like to exist,
Yeah.
right? To feel, to breathe, to be in my body. Like, so we went from one drastic to another to now we're like, oh my gosh, okay, we actually should, we're still young. We need to, you know.
Yeah, we call ourselves retired. But it's a privilege. It's a privilege to now be in the space to choose how much work we take on, to choose who we want to work with, where I mean, I still hear it in conversations of other people, not disliking their work or who they work with. And I don't remember the last time I felt like that because now we get to choose who we pour into, how much we pour into, and we get to understand our boundaries of, okay, we have days that we work 3 days straight or one full day where it's 12 hours, whatever that is, but it's a different type of pouring, is a different type of
Mhm.
energy because now it's doing it for the work that we love with the people that
Mhm.
we love and knowing that our energy is really powerful to create a lot of visions for these people and business owners because we know they're gonna go out and do that on their own. But it's a different type of work I think that we're doing now, and it's night and day difference.
Totally, totally. And it doesn't drain us, right? Which the work before was extremely draining because it was essentially like work that, while maybe it was like exciting in many ways, right? To achieve and to be like a top performer in this and that, it was basically working for someone else, right? And making someone else richer. And so now that we get to do this work, it's like it's really our legacy, it's our life purpose, you know? So there's a whole different level of like just worth and appreciation that I think we feel. But I will say there's also a greater like delayed gratification, right? Because working for ourselves, and especially in this model of like we're not pushing, we're not like really intense about goals and deadlines and this and that, which maybe there's room for improvement there. But I think we both trust, right, that as long as we are feeling good and that we are, when we are pouring our energy into what we're doing it from this space of like, I'm excited, I'm happy, I'm grateful, right? Then it's gonna become twofold and down the line, right? It's gonna pay off. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's a whole different energy into the work that we do because it's not coming from that like we're just trying to get rich. We're trying to make,
Yeah.
the most amount of money. No, it's like, no, we're trying to change lives,
Yeah.
because we can see how much our lives changed and and we see the direction that the world is headed in, right? And how lost we can get into the whole world of achieving just for the sake of, the identity being tied to that versus truly walking in our purpose or doing things that bring us joy in life, which in turn are going to bring joy and life into others.
Yeah, and we're able to see at what cost. And I think beforehand, the cost was at the expense of our health, at the expense of
Hmm.
mental health, at the expense of our worth and why we're doing it. So I think the reason behind what we're doing is way different than what we're doing it before, which was our worth and to prove somebody else that we are capable. And now we don't really have to do that.
Totally. 100%. All right, so let's do one last question and probably end with like the hardest one, which is what's the most difficult decision you've ever had to make?
Stay in an entrepreneurship. It's a love-hate relationship, I know for me, because, it's very easy and convenient to depend on a structure, on a more discipline, and it's a love-hate relationship with freedom and discipline, because I know they do give me a lot of satisfaction and what we were programmed to do in our corporate jobs, but it's not how you say it's not for the faint of heart.
Not for the faint of heart.
This journey of entrepreneurship where we do have to create and manage multiple different departments and the finances and the taxes and the legal stuff and where we want to be creatives because we are in a creative space. So
Hmm.
I think that's a tug and pull type of relationship with entrepreneurship and our freedom, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. And this is the route that I love and choose, and it comes at the expense of inconsistency and unknown, but it's all worth it.
Totally. 100%. I'd do it over again a million times. So yeah, so for me, very similar to yours, but I would say like maybe more broad scale is I think the hardest decision has been choosing myself over and over and over again because it's meant that to choose myself, I've had to have strong boundaries, sometimes with my family, right? Hard conversations where they don't understand why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And sometimes I don't understand either, but I know that it's something beyond me, right? My spirit, my soul, creator, the creator that keeps pulling me in this direction, right? And so every time that I'm in a situation where I have to choose myself, it does feel a little, sometimes it feels selfish, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I would rather walk down this path where I'm not understood or I'm misunderstood, right? Knowing that I'm not going to grow in bitterness or resentment later down the line for not having done what I felt in my spirit I needed to do. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's a hard path, but if we're not doing that for ourselves, right, then we're really doing it at the expense of our own joy, our own desires, right? And I'm someone that believes that we all have the opportunity to walk a path that is truly what is best for us, right? And as long as we're doing it from that space of like, this is for me, not for my parents, not for my boss, not for my friends, not for society, right? It's because my heart desires this, then it'll all work out and people will eventually be like, all right, I see why you did what you had to do,
Yeah.
yeah, but
It's
it's
a long
not easy, but it's worth it, like you said.
I love it. Yeah. And we decided that a long time ago, right? And we have to honor that and
Can't go back. I can't go back. My word is my word.
the best decision ever made to choose ourselves.
That's right.
Oh, I
Well,
love
thank you for this time. Yeah, and thank you to the wonderful magazine Shout Out Arizona, who is going to be featuring us, and our dear friend Esmeralda, who recommended us for it. We're so honored, we're so grateful, and thank you to those of you who tuned in. We hope that this felt like a breath of fresh air for you guys to realize that, yeah, it's not all perfect, but we're doing the best to put ourselves out there and to walk our truth.
it. Mm. And I hope the article or this video reaches the hearts of people that are in this path so we can connect and relate, but also those who are wanting to walk on this path and they can always reach out and we can answer the questions to the best of our ability through our experience and we encourage it and
Yes.
we'll be here for support.
All right. Thank you. Bye.